And the United Nations finally admitting that anti-Semitism, are you ready, is wrong. Israeli Ambassador Danny Danon convinced the United Nations to add language condemning anti-Jewish hatred to a resolution condemning Islamophobia in the wake of the New Zealand massacre. Good for the ambassador. Joining us tonight, David Rubin, former mayor of Shiloh, Israel, located in the West Bank, author of the book, and I want to show you this, author of the book, Trump and the Jews. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Lou.
David, let's start with, I think it's a remarkable achievement for Danny to have, the ambassador, to have gotten that into the resolution.
It actually is in the resolution, unlike the Democrats' resolution that they watered down after Ilhan Omar made her statements.
Now, that's quite a contrast, isn't it? The United Nations to the Congress of the United States, and that is stunning.
And the United Nations has long been a cesspool of hatred of Israel. So it's quite remarkable. I don't think it's to the United Nations' credit, but I do think that it's to the Democratic Party's discredit.
Yeah. And the issue in this country of Omar and the other anti-Semitic language that is rhetoric that has suddenly entered the Democratic Party. I shouldn't say suddenly, but is getting worse over the last 5-10 years. This is a real conflict for the Democratic Party, is it not?
It's a very serious problem for them. And, you know, in my book, Trump and the Jews, I wrote about the left and the right, the far left and the far right, two poles of intolerance, because everyone knows that neo-Nazis are very problematic and very anti-Semitic. And the attention has always been on the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists who are relatively small in number. They're
not relatively, they're small in number.
Yep. Well, but if you look at the other side of the political spectrum, where you have the Antifa people and the Black Lives Matter people, and of course the Muslim congresswoman, these are anti-Semites. These are blatant anti-Semites. Their hatred of Israel is deep in their hearts, and it's very problematic for the Democratic Party when Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer could not come out and really condemn it in a resolution and remove her from the Foreign Affairs Committee. They couldn't do it.
It was stunning that Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, made that choice. And one hopes that it doesn't in any way amount to any kind of endorsement of Omar, her language, or her conduct. Let's turn to walls. Israel has great experience with walls. We have great experience with promises of walls. And there are those who say that walls don't work. Israel says they do. Your thoughts?
Sure. Well, Israel actually has two walls. Walls, fences, whatever you want to call them, physical barriers. In the south of Israel, the border with Egypt, there is a steel fence that covers the entire border,
right, and
it encloses the entire border. Why was it built? It was built after between 2010 and 2012, there were 55,000 illegal immigrants who came into Israel. Now, remember, Israel's a tiny country about the size of New Jersey. This was a big problem. There was street crime in Tel Aviv. It was terrible.
How well did it work?
It worked 100%. In the year after it was built, there was not one illegal immigrant that came into the country from the southern border.
Incredible. And with that kind of effectiveness, very quickly, because we're out of time, but your judgment about, if you will, the effectiveness of shutting down the border as the president is now proposing?
Well, I don't think it could be done for a very long amount of time. Israel has had border closures quite often from Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank. And so for a few days, there are people who complain about the economy.
Right.
I don't think losing a few avocados for a few weeks will hurt the economy terribly. I think it can be done, and you have to think the long term, and the president thinks the long term.
Absolutely. And David Rubin is the author of Trump and the Jews. We recommend it to you highly. Thanks for being with us, David. Good
Thank you, Lou.
Thanks so much.